Well, how you doing, everybody? Today we're taking a quick look at Superman. Written and directed by James Gunn and starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult. Superman is facing his biggest threat after stopping the Middle Eastern nation of Boravia from invading the nearby country Jaranpur. This does not sit well with the US government as they see Boravia as an ally, even though they are clearly the aggressor in this conflict. And while even Superman will admit Jaranpur is not perfect, that does not mean they deserve to have their sovereignty threatened by this much more powerful neighbor. And if you haven't figured out what this symbolizes, do you not watch the news? Anyway, Superman is attacked by a metahuman who calls himself the Hammer of Boravia, also known as Ultraman. He is seemingly being controlled by, who else? Lex Luthor, and Supes gets his ass handed to him, which is not something he's used to. He has to find a way to stop Luthor's new pet, while also dealing with his relationship with Lois Lane, his friendship, with Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl, collectively known as the Justice Gang, at least according to Green Lantern. The other two are not sold on the name. Multiple governments breathing down his back, and the opinions of the general public who are not always on Superman's side because people are stupid. I was pretty much sold on this movie as soon as I saw Krypto the super dog in the trailer. And I kinda like how the dog's origins are never really explained, and honestly, that's fine. Some things need an explanation, some things don't. Why does Superman have a superpowered dog? He's Superman. What other kind of dog would he have? I also appreciate that this movie did not bother with an origin story. We have heard that story 1,000 times. Even people who have never picked up a comic book in their lives probably have a basic understanding of Superman's origin. It's fine, we all get it, we can move on. In fact, there's very little setup at all. The story begins in media res. That scene in the trailer where a beaten-to-hell Superman crash lands in the Arctic, I assumed that was going to pop up later, but no, that's the first scene. Not how I usually expect a superhero movie to start, especially a Superman movie. One criticism I often hear is you can't tell a good Superman story anymore because he's indestructible, there's no tension there. That is not the case here. He comes very close to death more than once. He's quite vulnerable. I thought Corenswet did a great job as the Man of Steel. He does remind me a little bit of Christopher Reeve, and I feel like he and James Gunn really get the character. He is the ultimate Boy Scout, and sometimes maybe a bit naive. He's always trying to do the right thing, even when it may get him in trouble. And despite being a superpowered alien, he is really just as human as the rest of us, and I thought they did a great job of focusing on that humanity. And without getting into spoilers, they did some interesting things with his backstory, especially with his biological parents. And they did something different with his adopted parents. Jonathan Kent is alive! Great, we don't need to Uncle Ben him again. I thought Brosnahan did a great job with Lois Lane. She is intelligent and headstrong and a very talented reporter. And she and Corenswet work well together. The relationship between Lois and Clark feels very genuine. They are clearly madly in love, but they don't really know how to deal with that, especially considering Clark's side gig. Hoult is someone I've been a fan of for a long time. I thought he was great as Lex Luthor. It feels like a modern take on the character, as he very much resembles the tech bros of today. I hate those guys. He's desperately trying to remake the world in his image and is just incapable of understanding why everyone would not see things his way and why people like Superman more than him. He desperately wants to be loved by everyone, but that's just not going to happen because he sucks so bad. I also want to call attention to Sarah Sampaio, who played Eve Tessmacher. Again, kind of a modern take on the character. She's kind of an airhead social media influencer who is constantly taking selfies, even as Superman and Ultraman are fighting each other in the background. Very funny stuff. I thought the entire Justice Gang was great, if that is indeed what we should call them. They are a very different type of superhero compared to the Man of Steel. Again, Superman is always trying to do things the right way, while the Justice Gang are a little bit more willing to bend the rules. They're still very much the good guys, but they're more chaotic good. I think Mr. Terrific is my favorite of the bunch. He is played by Eddie Gathegi, who I have not seen since the Twilight franchise, I think. Obviously playing a very different character here, with a very different accent, and he's a very no-nonsense character living in a world filled with absurdity. He was very funny. I hear they're considering making some sort of spin-off with that character, and that makes me happy. I want to see that. I also love that they kept Guy Gardner's terrible bowl cut, which apparently Nathan Fillion insisted on, and good on him. Superman's robot assistants at the Fortress of Solitude are also great. They're all, I think, voiced by people who have worked with James Gunn before, including National Treasure Alan Tudyk. And honestly, I could go on and on about the cast in this movie, but we'd be here all day. They're all great. Even the minor characters are played by very talented people. And we got a few cameos as well. No spoilers, but they're very well done. And despite having so many great characters in the movie, it never really feels overstuffed. And that is a trap that superhero movies can often fall into. It's hard to give everyone their time to shine without the movie feeling bloated, but they managed to find that balance. James Gunn's sense of humor is also on display here, no surprise. Superman is of course the target of many online trolls, and later on in the movie we learn Lex Luthor is behind that, and his troll farm is literally an army of angry monkeys. That is maybe a little on the nose, but I did get a laugh at that. There's a great scene where Superman and Lois are having a little heart-to-heart in her apartment, and while they're having this conversation, you can see out the window in the background the Justice Gang are fighting this big alien creature of some sort. At one point, Lois even says, "Hey, shouldn't you go help them?" And Supes is like, nah, it looks like they got this. I mean, when you're in a world of metahumans, I guess that's just a normal day in Metropolis. Oh, Green Lantern is fighting some kind of giant alien jellyfish. Is it Tuesday already? And a lot of the humor comes from Krypto, who is not a very good boy. He is, in fact, a little shit. I would still die for him. At first, it was a little weird to keep looking at what is obviously a CGI dog, but he was funny enough that after a while, I just didn't care. I thought they did a really good job with the action sequences. They're a lot of fun and make very good use of the special effects. I especially liked what Green Lantern did toward the end of the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That was awesome. And John Murphy and David Fleming did a great job with the score. They still incorporated the old John Williams Superman theme, but they put their own spin on it, and it worked very well. And it's also nice that the movie is not only very good, but pissing the right people off. Yes, they said Superman is an immigrant. Cry about it, bitches. I really don't have many bad things to say about this movie, except maybe for Corrin Sweat's hair in a couple of scenes. Superman's hair mostly looks fine. It's Clark Kent's hair that doesn't always look great. There were a couple of moments where I'm like, oh, that is not a good wig. But that's pretty much it. I mean, if I go back and rewatch it, maybe I can find a few more things to nitpick, but overall, I really like this movie and I want to see it again. This is easily the best I've felt about a Superman movie since Superman 2. And it's probably going to end up being one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm so glad I saw it, and you should see it too. And yes, there is a post-credit scene. It's not something that you absolutely need to see. I think it's just a deleted scene that they stuck at the end, but it's fun. And that's all I have to say about Superman. Till next time. Take care.